Hello, everyone. This is Scott with the Scott Spot, where we school around with education. I'm Scott Shirley, slowly but surely, and you can call me Shirley, with some ideas, insights, and suggestions for helping both teachers and administrators with the evaluation process. In yesterday's podcast, we talked about the requirement of having one formal evaluation to be completed before January 1 of the school calendar year. I included some suggestions and tips for both administrators and teachers. Because our district does not have a get-you-gotcha philosophy in any of our board policies, especially in Policy 5340 covering the evaluation of personnel, we've created a significant amount of training tools to not only help teachers score higher on their evaluations, but more importantly, to assist them in doing what is best for children. In today's podcast, we'll be talking about that, and I've given the title of today's podcast, Step Out of the Shadows and Share. Let me explain. I'll be going over some of the digital tools we have available for teachers and employees of Madison School District and how we got where we are today. A little bit of history. For the last several years, Superintendent Randy Lords and I have discussed many times how we could use technology to make training an ongoing process rather than a single concentrated event. A few days at a national conference can be a tremendous source of information. That is, if the information you receive pertains to issues presently on your plate. Yes, it's great to hear in person from education experts from around the world, but do we necessarily have to travel several thousand miles to do so? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not against traveling to national conferences. It is simply a fact that very little of the information gathered really filters down to the regular classroom teacher. It's an amazing experience for those who attend the conference, but the trickle-down effect loses much of its luster before finally arriving at the door of the typical classroom. After attending many of these national conferences, I've come to the conclusion that, in many cases, a much higher level of expertise exists within our own district here at home. Here's a few examples. At a conference on school safety in Florida a few years ago, I learned that our district is light years ahead of the rest of the nation in coordinating efforts between county, city, state, and district officers and officials. I attended meetings where ideas were presented on how to bring all these law enforcement people together to begin a process we had already had in place for many, many years. At some of the breakout sessions, they featured strategies for integrating and including mental health personnel into the process. Really? Our district has been doing just that very thing for the past 2 decades. I listened to experts who had done all the research suggesting these things should be done. But we were the practitioners who had been doing those very things for many years, simply because it was, and still is, the right things to do for kids. And that's special thanks to Madison Cares. In another conference in Boston, speaking of Madison Cares, I heard from experts from some of the largest districts in the nation talking about strategies to increase their graduation rates. In one district in New Jersey, the graduation rate was 88%, and their high school literacy rate was 83%. I'm sure that was amazing to them and their particular culture, but few believed our district graduation rate was well above 97%. We were ranked in the top 1% of the schools in graduation rate in Idaho, yet we sat listening to the educational experts from across the nation. I attended a suicide prevention conference in Florida where ideas and strategies were presented to promote mental health in the schools. Everything they promoted was already in place in our district through Madison Cares. Again, we could have added much to that conference conversation, but there seems to be an overarching assumption that nothing good could possibly come out of Idaho. Right. Since the COVID-19 days, and I spell days, D-A-Z-E, just saying, there's been an emphasis on schools creating a digital learning library. There are teachers in our district who have been creating videos and other digital learning materials for their students for more than a decade, some even longer. When I was principal at Hibbard, we had our own channel on SchoolTube back in 2008. We then created training videos on the RTI process when I was assistant principal at Madison Middle School in 2010. There are even more amazing stories of how our teachers and administrators have been using technology for many, many years. But many of these folks are quietly performing their genius, their magic, day after day, and have been doing so for many, many years. Again, the real genius in our district is exactly that, in our district. We are much smarter together than we are individually, and the time has come to share with each other openly, to come out of the shadows. We do not necessarily need to travel thousands of miles to learn how to help children learn. In many instances, we need only visit with the teacher in the classroom next door. When Superintendent Randy Lords presented me with the opportunity of spending one more year developing a district-wide digital library, training library, I jumped right in. He asked if I needed a few days to think about it, and I said I'd been thinking about it for years, and he could take it to the bank. So, where are we? This podcast is number 397 of our videos and broadcasts available in the library. Here's a quick rundown of what has been covered in the index, which is updated regularly and is posted on our district website. I'll take a deep breath. Athletics, bullying, career ladder, classroom flipping, courses available, dress code, evaluations, insurance, job fair, school lunch, Madison Care, special ed, power school, safety, Title I, website training, and work orders. That's just a few. So you can go to that library and look for others. But as I mentioned above, again, the real genius in the district is right here in the district. There are many of you who have created digital materials that could be added to our library. That is, if the content is general and not confidential. Then you could, if it is, you could make a short video on how you created the video and why you did it, so that others in the district can have one more tool in their arsenal of educational strategies. And they'll also become aware of one more person they can call when they need help with a specific creation, digital creation. Our district could very easily present our own national conference featuring the experts we already have among us. Oh, wait a minute. We already do that. It's called District in Service. What we really need is for all the quiet geniuses that are among us to step out of the shadows and share. When Superintendent Randy Lord says we are the finest district, he's not just saying it because he's in charge. He's saying it because it's true. Yes, we still have things to work on, but in comparison to the state and even to the nation, we are already way ahead of the curve in so many areas. So you can help if you will just step out of the shadows and share. This has been the Scott Spot. I'm Scott, slowly but surely, and you really can call me Shirley. Next time we'll have some more schooling around with education. Bye now.